Here it is, Friday morning, more or less 10. It's 2 after, according to this clock anyway. So that's almost on time. This is Relaxing Painting with Dyson Dungeons. And today I'm going to be returning to this flying demon thing, which I have been told is called Pazuzu. I don't know if that's true or not, or if somebody was just making that up, but we're going to call it a Pazuzu because somebody called it a Pazuzu. And I've got the wings going pretty well. Can't even remember when it was anymore. I think it must have been Monday because that's when I work on things that are not the submarine. And then I base coated the body this kind of really dark red. Hi, Who. I will do a flip soon. I'm just having to do a monologue introduction here to talk about what I might be working on today. And as I can see that there are flaws, obviously, in the base coat on the body, just little spots that didn't get covered right. And today I'm going to work on the detail. I'm going to work on the face. Focus. Anyway. Yeah, open mouth. So be painting the inside of the mouth, the tongue, the teeth, and then all these little details like these spikes and horns and stuff, and then the claws. And the other thing I'm going to try is, what can be more demonic than stripes, right? I'm going to try to paint stripes on the body, but not just like another color. Okay, I'm going to try to make them look translucent. And I don't know how this will work, but I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to take some of this scarlet red, which is the base color of the wing, nice dark red, and I'm going to dilute it, thin it with a little bit of thinner so that it's thin, kind of like a wash. I'm going to try to create a scarlet red wash, and I'll see how that goes, and I'll try to make stripes out of it. And if that doesn't work, then I can always just let it dry and repaint it with the the black red, on the body. The other thing is the sword, and you might notice that there's no blade on the sword, but there is down here. Because last time I worked on this, I fabricated a sword blade out of a toothpick, and that will be one of the last things done. Is I'll contact that cement on. And since I'm doing detail work, there's an excellent chance, I must say, that I will use up the entire stream, not getting anything done. There's some really major flaws. Yeah, before I start working on the face, I'm going to touch up some of these flaws on the base color of the body. But like up here on the top, it's not only a little flaw there, but the wing color came over too far. So I'll probably do something like put on my head magnifier so that I can see better the flaws in the paint. Yeah, there's some here too, in there. Wow, that's really not well done at all. But, and then there's spots that... Okay, well, anyway, a fair amount of work needs to be done on this. Touch up the body with this black red a little when I get going here, and then start working on the detail, like the claws. To pick a color for those. Might do those in black. It might not show real well, but I don't think this demonic beast should have light colors on it. I think the highlighting for the horns and things should be done in a really dark color, like NATO black or black. The NATO black is kind of a grayish black color, which is here somewhere. It's flat black. And this flat black. Yeah, somewhere here in this pile of stuff that never got put away. There it is. No, it isn't. I thought it was. There it is. So I might use that, which is a little bit less intensely black. Yeah, the other thing is we have a whole pile of these little imps. Nicole painted this one. You can tell because it's got like just amazing shading on it. You know, the insides of the wings are painted and then washed or something, and look at the face. You know, the teeth are really cool, really coolly well painted, yellow, bright eyes. The shading on the back. Anyway, there's like 6 of these, and I was told, well, make them look like this. And I said, no, that's actually not going to happen, because I just can't do that. But, you know, I might give it a go. I might try one, and, you know, can always reprime it. That's kind of a motto of this show. Can always reprime it and start over. Let's do some flipping. I got this still. This is a good flipping thing because it doesn't hurt anything when it lands. It's a knot spot. The last time it was 4 spots and 2 knot spots. 2-0. Whoop, that wasn't really a flip. That did land like that, even if it was off camera. 2-1, 2-2, 4-2. Okay, well, it evened out. It's now 6-6. So, yay for randomization. So who, since you're, oh my. I did have a mug of coffee, which I really, really need to drink this morning, you know, to keep me kind of lucid, more or less lucid. You know, you can't expect too much lucidity. But I set it down there. Can you see it? Is it behind me? See if I can put it here without knocking it over today. I need your help here. I need something to talk about. I've got like 3 hours of relaxing painting to fill. Well, I'm just dinking around trying to make this, you know, look really even more demonic and fixing the face and all of that. Any ideas? We're going to be relegated to trying to do theme songs for 1960s TV. We could do that. In spoken word version, I suppose that would be, I mean, it'd be okay, but it'd be pretty kind of weird. But getting the head magnifier out, I'm dropping things, getting fingerprints all over the lenses. Yep, it's relaxing painting, dropping things with Dyson Dungeons. The best 60s cartoon theme song. Whoa, that's a good contest. Sorry. Rubbing my eyes here, acting like I haven't really woken up yet. Well, the one that everybody sang, but it wasn't the best, was the Yogi Bear thing. Because everybody knew the words to Yogi Bear. Yogi Bear. Let's say them together. Oh, good. I'm glad you're hydrated. Or am I supposed to be hydrated? I guess that's how that goes. Yeah, Yogi Bear is smarter than the average bear. Yogi Bear is always in the ranger's hair. Have a picnic basket, you will find him there. Yogi Bear is smarter than the average bear. It's important to say it like Yogi Bear 3 times, so you know what you're singing about. And then the refrain about is smarter than the average bear, which is what Yogi says about himself. Yogi was kind of a narcissist. I'm smarter than the average bear. What was kind of sad is that Yogi, he did. You say it 3 times in the theme song, and right after the commercial break, because there always was one that sold some sort of sugared cereal, Yogi Bear appeared along with Boo Boo. And it was the same cartoon over and over and over again, pretty much, having to do with Yogi being in the ranger's hair and stealing picnic baskets. What was really kind of sad in a way about the Yogi Bear show was how many adults, and this was in the 60s, and so adults being, people who were like over 28 and should have known better, thought that they were Yogi. Okay, and then they'd sort of talk like Yogi and just say things like, "Oh, I'm smarter than the average bear," which, for an adult human is not really that big a deal, you would think. Really? I would hope that you're smarter than the average bear. I'm stirring some ink here. Let's see if I can get it to. There we go. I know that who really likes that. There was the Super Chicken theme song. That was a pretty good one. That went down a good time. Good long time. I don't remember all the lyrics now. I know there was something like, if you're approached by a stranger, if you think that you're in danger, call on Super Chicken, and then you get the buck, buck, buck. I have to say that, And then that was a pretty good theme song, actually. There were kind of some lame ones, like George of the Jungle. George of the Jungle, a friend to you and me. That was about it. Some of them were just music. A lot of the Jay Ward stuff. Rocky and Bullwinkle, Peabody, and then the little shorts that were inside that show, like Peabody's Improbable History, and can't squeeze paint out of a bottle and talk at the same time, apparently. That is that kind of day. This is the dark black red paint, and I'm using it to touch up the body, because when I put these on and take a look at it, I know I'm going to see just flaws all over the place. I want to get those before I start painting stripes on them. Go. I get to see things close up. Yay. I need a different brush. The one with this one. Looks kind of ragged compared to last time I used it, though. I'm using this one so I can reach into various places and also do some detail, like when I'm looking up here the body, and I just see that there's did not get the line very well done. And at the time it looked fine, but looking fine meant looking fine to not magnified and not really well focused eyes. So I'll just get this kind of fixed up a little bit. And then I'm going to look around because even though there's just spots where the paint didn't cover. It's just a lot of them all over the place. I don't know if they got like scraped off or if it just didn't get painted. So yeah, some of them were just music. You identify the music right away when you heard it. Now there's some these little details here. Those would be good if I could somehow just touch them with a very fine-tipped brush. It would look pretty good on the tail if I could pull that off. I might just spend, most of the stream here just playing around with this, trying to get some of the detail on the body and the face, especially the face. These whole spots behind the frill that didn't get any paint on them the first time around. I'm telling myself that having a good base coat on this is going to be a good thing, because then I can paint the other colors over it. So it looks like I need to, just in terms of process, paint the inside of the mouth first. And then paint that kind of a bright red color. Not the scarlet red, but just red. And then the tongue, I'm going to paint the tongue purple. And I am tempted, and I might follow through on the temptation, since I'm just dinking around, spending a whole lot of time pretending I know what I'm doing and getting detail painted, is get out the pearlescent paints and go through the bother of painting just coating the tongue with a pearlescent. Just to make it kind of wet and glossy looking. First, I'm fixing, like the top of the leg. It's amazing. There's a whole spots that didn't get painted. I must have done this near the end of the stream. I was tired and it was like, oh well, let's just slop paint all over this and see what happens. Except I didn't slop it all over. I just slopped it in spots. And I missed spots. So there was Yogi Bear, that was a famous one. George of the Jungle. Give the cartoons. Did El Kabong have a theme song? El Kabong and Quick Draw McGraw were the same horse. It's like, I don't know how they pulled that off. It was like not really a secret identity or anything, but for some reason Quick Draw McGraw became El Kabong, whose weapon was a guitar. And if you've never seen it before, you could probably guess that he just kabonged people with the guitar. And it went kabong. That's why he was called El Kabong. Because when he kabonged people with his guitar, it made the kabong sound. Well, so far this is pretty good. I'm staying on camera. I'm talking about things that nobody really knows or cares about. That's kind of cool. I am painting and putting paint on things. As I rotate this, I find yet even more spots that didn't get painted. That need to be base coated with the base coat. So yeah, I'm going to paint the inside of the mouth. The teeth get painted after that. It's got a beak. And it looks like that beak. It might be the kind of thing where the beak is covered in the same base coat and then it's just like washed with maybe some dark gray wash. But these horns and little spiky things on the frills, I'm going to do those in NATO black. And maybe I'll do it in a wash. Use a wash instead. I'm going to do the talons in the black. Those things. Okay. Well, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge in here. I didn't notice that before when I did it, is that the hilt of the sword is between its fingers. So no doubt at all, I'll have to be touching up these fingers after I paint the hilt. I might do the hilt in kind of a fancy metallic color. I might do it like in bronze. The demon should have. How much time have I been able to use up? Like 10 minutes or something, just poking little bits of paint at little spots that hadn't been painted when I painted it before. Here we go. Yeah. So yeah, now that you've asked for it, I can't say for sure that a lot of these cartoons had theme songs. Looking at like Saturday morning kind of cartoons, but not the famous adult cartoon. That's how it was presented before it came out. All the pre-publicity for it was that you're going to be watching an adult cartoon. And the adult cartoon was, of course, the Flintstones, a breakthrough show, an animated prime-time show. Fairly obviously based on the show The Honeymooners. Yeah, actually that is. Most of them, they were, I mean, the lyrics rhymed. You have to say that. They did get rhymes out of them. But the Flintstones theme song just was really pretty, it went on for a good long time. Although they had to say the name over and over. Flintstones, meet the Flintstones. the modern Stone Age family from the town of Bedrock. They're a case right out of history. See, family history, that kind of rhymes. Could take the family down the street. I think that's kind of what it was. Lyrics kind of like that. Through the courtesy of Fred's good feet, because they had cars, but the cars were foot powered. Your feet stuck out of the bottom, and you just walked along. That's how those cars worked. That seemed, I'm not sure that was much an advantage. It was kind of like having, I don't know, like a scooter, maybe a sit-down scooter. And then I think they just repeated it again. Flintstones meet the Flintstones, the modern Stone Age family, because you have to say the name of it over and over. I wonder how much they paid people to write those things. They must have paid them better than they do now, because the cartoon theme song writers didn't have to strike in order to get fair pay, so they must have been satisfied with what they got, even for something as really. This is amazing how I keep finding spots that weren't painted. So I'll use this other brush because it's here. Okay. I'm going to paint. The reason I'm going to do this is I'm going to paint the hilt of the sword next. It seems a little out of sequence, but looking at how this is done and knowing that I'm going to have to touch up the red, and then I want to do the claw tips in black, I'm just going to get the hilt painted and then do the touch up and just get that over with. So I'll do that in guards, and then the blade of the sword, which doesn't exist yet, but is a toothpick over here. If I can put it there, you can see it. There's the blade of the sword. That'll get painted probably steel with maybe some black wash on it. Let me get the bronze metallic out. There it is. This is, kind of like brass, but darker. That's just wet paint. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between a spot of wet paint and a spot that isn't painted. Yeah. So everybody knew the Flintstones song. To sing that all the time. What's really, if I recall correctly, though, and this is actually a little surprising, there were more adults who thought that they were Yogi Bear and talked like Yogi Bear, just to do it because they thought, that was cool, than either Fred or Barney. Fred Flintstone or Barney Rubble, even though the Flintstones was an adult cartoon. Okay. You would think that grown-ups, as they were for me when I was watching these things, would have been more grown up about it. But if anybody was going to be a cartoon character, they were going to be Yogi Bear. That was especially true one summer job I had. Talked about this one a little bit before. Summer job I had working in an industrial engineering department, making a map of the plant. That's a great, it definitely needs some touching up of the fingers, so get this done and then do the finger touching up. Start doing the effort to make stripes. The junior engineer who was put in charge of me. Hey, this kid's making a map of the plant. Get him some stuff to make a map on. Decided to call me little buddy. He talked like Yogi Bear. It was really weird. But, it was a summer job. I needed the money for college. I wasn't about to complain about somebody pretending they were Yogi Bear while they helped me get materials to make a map of the plant. Materials were, real exciting stuff like plastic with a grid of squares on it, 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch. After we did our shopping, we didn't have too much contact, but whenever he stopped by to see how things were going, he was Yogi Bear again. It was just a lot more fun being Yogi Bear and calling people little buddy. It's being Fred Flintstone. There's a little personal anecdote about the consequences of cartoons in the 60s. Peter? Anyway, that cartoon had a theme song. Pretty involved. You can't forget that the Flintstones had a Yabba Do Time, Yabba Dabba Doo. Oh, that was a thing that people did do, though. Adult borrowing from the cartoons. When they were Yogi Bear, it was "Hey, little buddy," and just stuff like that. But when they were, the one thing they did with Fred Flintstone was that people would say "Yabba Dabba Doo." Like that was a cool thing to say because it was on a cartoon. I guess I can only imagine because. When you're a young teen, you don't go around saying "Yabba Dabba Doo" because your parents did. You don't do that. Okay. Too bad. I got a little bit of red touching up to do. but I might darken that a little bit with a little bit of wash, you know, or maybe do a little shading on it or something, because it's, you know, it is pretty bright. But see, there's another spot there. So when I touch up the fingers, cartoon show was the Jetsons. Well, you know, I have to say, remember, for some reason I don't remember the Jetsons theme song. I was never a fan of the Jetsons for some reason. I don't, you know, everybody watched the Flintstones. And I know we watched the Jetsons because we used to, you know, it was a thing to do, is you watch this cartoons on prime time, which was a welcome change from all of the westerns that had been on before that. That's all you could get. I think what it was that the set of the Jetsons, like their house and even their vehicle and stuff, all of those things kept changing from one episode to the next. It's like they had no continuity staff or something. Taking time to keep finding spots that have no paint on them. But yeah, the continuity just wasn't a thing that they seemed to care about. Best brush for it, but it's the brush I have out. I'm finding more and more spots that were not base coated. So, okay, so got that done, and like I said, I might put a little bit of a dark gray wash on that, just so that it's not quite so bright. Demonic Blade should have something a rich color like that brown. So that's a good rich color, but it probably should look more demony. There. Wear this brush out completely on this model with all the little detail stuff. The next two things I'm going to do are the inside of the mouth and the claws. And I guess I'm going to do the claws next. This Natal Black is a good color. The paint has a weird consistency, though. It's like gelatinous almost. And I've tried thinning it. Just doesn't always work. So just doing the tips of the claws, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue here, but let's see. Really? dust that time. That's good. Which makes me wonder how many times I used the touching up to just paint over a piece of dust that had gotten onto the mold. Too long ago, I used to just really complain about having to do these tiny little detail things like these claws and the face, the teeth and stuff. But those of you who have been watching Submarine Wednesday have seen how the detail... I'm going to take this off. I need to get to the underside. Claws. How the detail on the submarine, these look big. Signal lights and things on some of the submarine parts that I was working on. I made huge progress on the Submarine Wednesday. All the stuff that I've been working on in the galley and the bunk room and the control room and everything actually for real got installed into the hull of the submarine. And it's kind of an amazing event. And I only had to redo it maybe 4 times before I got all this stuff to fit. Some of the things that I thought were going to be like really difficult, like the staircases. There's 2 of them. I went from the bunk room up to the officer's wardroom, and then from the officer's wardroom to the control room. Got those kind of set in place with contact cement, which gives flexibility, and I was able to actually get them so that they came up into the next deck where they were supposed to be. It was really pretty surprising. The only difficult part was the one that was supposed to be the easiest, which was from the officer's wardroom to the control room. The control room deck was supposed to be able to just slide into the hull after the galley deck was put in. Okay, it was supposed to just slide in, but it couldn't slide in because the staircase protruded into the space where it was supposed to slide, so it kept it from sliding in. And so I had to take that out and rotate it and manipulate it in kind of weird little ways just to get it in. But I was able to get it in, and it's stuck. And then I got the periscope and radio antenna tubes to line up with the periscopes and radio antenna. So they slide up and down through the conning tower to the sail. Yeah. And so now the forward third of the submarine is actually installed, and it kind of looks like it should now. And then the next bit is working on the missile deck, where the 16 Polaris missiles rest in their tubes Can't call them silos or tubes. It should be a fairly easy thing to do, but it isn't going to be, just because of the way it's put together and the way the pieces don't really fit. Wednesday, I'll be doing things like gluing together the two halves of 16 missile tubes. Those have to be cemented together so that I can sand out the seams in the tubes. Don't want to see those on the finished product. Is that? It's just the way the light it looked for a minute like the whole inside of that claw was not fix these, but there's a big chunk of the finger there that has bronze paint on. Okay, well, its fingernails and toenails are painted NATO black. It's kind of a good color. It's dark enough so you can see it as a contrast. And I need to see if there's still a little bit of this paint left. Inside of the mouth next. Since I've got this black paint out, it's got kind of prominent nostrils. I'm going to see if I can paint the nostrils with the brush as opposed to trying to use the felt tip pen. That one's really deep. This one's a little shallower. I guess that'll do. Right. The inside of the mouth, it's kind of just regular red. It's kind of a bright red color. And then the tongue will be purple. And then I'm going to put some gloss on the tongue to make it look wet. After I paint the inside of the mouth and let it dry, I'll be painting the teeth. Actually, I should make the teeth sort of an orangey color. rather than white. The ivory I usually use will really stand out. So I'm going to take a look at what I've got, and maybe I'll make them look kind of orangish. Red is okay for the inside of the mouth. And it's mainly just the roof of the mouth, and you want to be able to see it. Yeah, and you can't really see what I'm doing, but it is on camera. Whenever I look up and I see that something is on camera, I'm always kind of pleasantly surprised. Because I'm very frequently not, especially when I'm doing this sort of thing. No, I don't know. So who? If you're still paying attention at all here. And you have internet connection. Did you look to see if there was a Jetsons theme song? A little curious now whether there was. Mouth here where it should be red. Could be really dark red. And the inside of the tongue, it's red. The tongue will get painted another color later, but this is the only way to get the red around it. Is to get the red on it. At least for me, that's the. Oh, that's right. That's the whole theme song was basically listing the characters in the show. Jay, his wife, Judy, his boy Elroy, and his daughter Judy, and it was his boy Elroy. Okay, that was a classic kind of sexist sort of thing. She asked for money to go shopping because she doesn't have any money because she's the wife, right? So he has to give her the money. Nobody questioned that. That just wasn't even an issue. That's just what happened. And that's right. She took the whole wallet. Good remembering. Ooh. Meet George Jetson. That's how it started. Meet George Jetson, Jane, his wife, daughter Judy, his boy. Elroy. I'm not sure. Maybe Elroy wasn't really his son. Maybe he was just like his boy. It wasn't racist like that could have been. Yeah, so they used the whole theme song to do nothing but introduce the characters. Like you didn't know who they were. Sure, if you knew. Yeah, and I remember his boss was, I think they went over for dinner with his wife. That probably happened a couple of times. Okay, those lines seem to be okay. I've got a spot there I need to touch up. Be red under here. More red down here, just so I have some discretion about where the tongue ends. Okay. Some of this red left. There's a dot in here. Stay clean first, I guess. And then grab some of this while it's still kind of liquid. Oh. All right. Okay. So I need to paint the tongue purple, and then the teeth sort of orangey. That's what I'll go for here. Otherwise, I think that's okay. Oh yeah, they had a robot maid. The Jetsons had this robot maid named Rosie, I think it was. Also patterned after some other TV show. I can't remember the name of it, but there was... He was like a homage to, I'll say that instead of ripped off, some other TV character. Yep, Rosie the Robot. Well, the Flintstones were definitely the honeymooners, and there's no doubt about that. That I don't know if they got away with it. There must have been eminent domain something or other, or else it wasn't. I mean, it was obvious that it was the honeymooners. you know, and Barney was names now. Nope, memory. Oop, gone. My memory. It was Jackie Gleason in that role, and that was a pretty famous role for him. Where are the eyeballs on this thing? It should have very obvious. There they are, way over there. This side isn't dry yet. That paint isn't dry, so that's not helpful. Yeah, Ralph Crandon. Yeah, that was his name. He was, I think he was a postal worker. And the guy who played this sort of sidekick, I believe, was a sewer worker. If I have that right. But yeah, the Flintstones, really, that's right. There were lots of cigarette ads back then. And yeah, probably Fred sold some. Why not? You got to make a buck somehow, right? And the Jetsons wasn't really the Flintstones in the future because there wasn't the equivalent of a Barney Rubble. He didn't have a neighbor. But it wasn't too terribly much different. You know, there's only so many things you can do. Every once in a while, like Fred, you'd see him working in the quarry and interacting with his boss, and every once in a while you'd see George Jensen at work pushing his button, because that's all you had to do in the future. I don't think George had a buddy. I mean, they probably had friends, but I don't think George had an ongoing buddy. I think the kids, Elroy and Judy, I think they played a larger role in the show than, well, yeah, in the Honeymooners Flintstones, they didn't have a kid until much later. When Pebbles and Bam Bam showed up, and then they were just little kids going bam, 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 right? So the interaction was largely among the adults, Fred and Barney. Whereas in the Jetsons, I think there was a lot more like teenagery stuff growing up that was more focused on the kids. And Rosie did a lot of stuff. She was kind of a significant player. You know, when you look back at it, you kind of wonder how they managed to fill the time with what little happened in those shows. But they did, and we always enjoyed them. Flintstones were always pretty good. Because, you know, it was just a remake of The Honeymooners, which was a really good show in its day. Yeah, The Honeymooners, you know, it was just classic 50s stuff. I think his wife's name was Alice. He kept threatening to go kapow right to the moon. I think there was this underlying threat of domestic violence that never happened. But, you know, hit anybody, which was good. That wouldn't have been good role modeling at all. But the cool thing about the Honeymooners is that they were not even middle class. Okay. I mean, it was a show about people who were just getting by. So their house was not very fancy at all. Their appliances were old. They didn't wear fancy clothes or do fancy things. So in a lot of ways, it was a show that the average viewer, who was also in a similar situation, could identify with. The Flintstones, on the other hand, since the show came later, when people were, wealthier then, they had things like dishwashers. Yeah, Astro. Did they have a second pet? I think there was a cat, wasn't there? But yeah, Astro was his best friend. It kind of made sense that George Jetson, kind of the disaffected, kind of ideal 1960s father who was sort of but not entirely engaged with the kids, didn't hit anybody, didn't scream a lot, that kind of thing. Kind of, very, very modern that way. Didn't have a best friend, had a dog. But if you've got a dog, and a robot maid, what more do you need? But the Flintstones, the Flintstones compared to the Honeymooners lived in, very kind of lower middle class, I guess I'd call it, if you have to give socioeconomic markers to something. They lived in, they were not fancy. And they didn't live fancy, but by the time that Flintstones came around, the people were a little bit wealthier because the after effects of World War II had started to fade and the economy was growing. And there were recessions like every 3 or 4 years instead of every 2 years, maybe every 5 or 6 years even. There were still recessions. You had to have those periodically. Otherwise, your economy wasn't healthy. But they had things like dishwashers. There's a little dinosaur in the sink that did the dishes for it. Or, one of the dinosaurs in the sink was a garbage disposal. I remember that. They just scraped the stuff into this dinosaur and it would eat it. Take this off for a second. I'm letting the purple tongue dry before I paint the teeth. Well, the Flintstones had a dog too. They also had a cat. I don't think the cat had a name. We just know that there was one because Fred put it as basically it was a saber-toothed tiger, right? Or a Smilodon. A Smilodon. Got to put it out on the porch as part of the theme song thing. Or at the end of the show, one or the other. And they had a dog. Was the dog just named Fido? What was Fred's dog's name? I mean, the dog wasn't really a dog. The dog was a dog-like dinosaur. I think it was like white and black spotted. So do a search. What was Fred Flintstone's dog's name? I was going to find some good tooth colors. I want them to be kind of dark. Bone white might work. a real good color. I'm thinking, let me look at my color chart here. This ivory would just show too much. I wanted them to be kind of orangey, maybe, but I don't want them yellow like that. Bright yellow, that wouldn't look good. That's not too bad. That might be okay. Dark sand is always kind of a decent color. That's a possibility. Clear the two. Buff is just too blah. Not much to it. This bone white isn't bad either. Dark sand is a little yellower. I think I'm going to try that and see how it looks. I'll use it if I can find it. That is the trick. That isn't it. That is not it. That's the bone white. That's my backup choice. Dark sand. Was dark sand? Trying to remember. Is it Tamiya color or Viejo color? They're brown? No, it's too brown. Sand, dark sand. Someday it would probably be worth taking the time to putting all the paints back away in this wonderful rotating thing. There's dark sand. Let's begin. I'm going to gloss. I'm not sure if I need to gloss on the tongue. It's kind of shiny already, isn't it? I was thinking of putting the pearlescent paints on the tongue, but I'm looking at it, and for some reason it's pretty reflective already. Okay, well, I need to paint the teeth then. Those are tiny little teeth. That'll be fun and interesting to do. Give this a go. Yeah, so compared to the Honeymooners, the remake with the Flintstones had all sorts of utter inconveniences that at the time of the Honeymooners were just exotic. Most people didn't have them or think about them. Like, who would have been thinking about garbage disposals in the Honeymooners? It just wasn't a thing. Or a dishwasher. I mean, a dishwasher was Alice, right? She was the dishwasher. That's just how it was. But by the time the Flintstones came out, people were familiar with things like garbage disposals and dishwashers and refrigerators and things like that. And so they actually had them in the show. They were dinosaurs, as opposed to mechanical devices. But that they did update it to show the change in people's lifestyles. Okay. Yeah. It's like a snaggletooth kind of thing. It's just... It's going to be what it is. It's a tooth that got slightly not well printed. And when it's painted, it'll be really obvious, but it is going to be what it is. Yes, I'm going silent as I attempt to paint these tiny little details. These teeth are similar to the level of detail on the submarine. The inside of the mouth shows, especially on it, so I need to paint the teeth on the inside as well. And definitely along the tops here. Okay, that's not too bad. Let's see what happens on the other side. Yeah, I did get it on the tongue there. There's a spot there. It will need to be purple touched. A really large amount of paint on the tongue. But I definitely did not want to do anything lighter for the teeth. And this is pretty dark color. Colors. Just... Even this is a little brighter than I was hoping for. It just looks weird. I'll have to fix that. Okay. So I need to do some purple retouching once that dries a little bit. And some dark red touch up. Touch up here. Then getting the purple tongue fixed here. You know, the teeth aren't bad. Definitely would not have wanted them any lighter than that. So I guess that was an okay color choice. That was not too bad. Need to do the eyeballs. This one's finally drying enough. I can probably do that. I'm going to do those yellow. Yellow seems to be the demon eye color du jour. Then I'm going to be take a break a little early, because the next step is to create a red wash by thinning out some scarlet red paint. Okay, creating a red wash and trying to paint translucent stripes on the body, so the body's not so monochrome. And this is too dark really to wash very well, but I think stripes, stripes are demonic kinds of things, and I think I could paint some on here. But I don't want them to look like just painted on stripes. I want them to be kind of flowing, blending in, kind of like the kind of effect you would get with a wash. So I'm going to try that. These spikes on the elbows, those should just be painted black. So I think I'll do that. I'll get that. And I'll get the NATO black out again. When you see something like that, it's good. Just get it done with. And I hadn't remembered them before when I painted the fingernails. It's these sort of, why are they there? I don't know. There's just spikes on its elbow for some reason. Some flying demon reason. There's spikes on the elbow, and they should be painted the same color as the nails. There's all sorts of frills around the face. I'll show you those in a bit after I get some of this on. I don't know why it's not adhering to the brush. Then get your elbow spikes painted. This model's awkward enough. Just handling it like this is just sort of a recipe to get one's fingers gucked up in paint. There's nice texture in the body. Maybe I will do a really light wash after the stripes are painted. Maybe just, a really light color, like not dark gray, but just gray. With trying to get a very subtle kind of, just a very subtle kind of highlighting of the, sorry, I just found another spot. See if I can find it again that hadn't been adequately painted on the base coat. not seeing it. It was a pretty obvious spot. But yeah, I think that after I painted the stripes, because there's this texturing, I might just get the gray wash out. It's a very light color. It's not going to darken it very much, but it might get into the texturing enough so that it would just emphasize it, so you could see it. Let's give it enough contrast. These models always look better at a distance. So the mouth turned out okay. Get some yellow. Yeah. That's the eye color for this. What kind of yolks we have here? I might just use one of the other ones. What do you think? Orange fire? Yeah, if I can find orange fire, I'll use that. This is a slightly glossy color, which would be okay. It's also kind of translucent. Not going to create like a big color spot. You'll be able to see kind of a fiery eye. At least that's what I'm hoping for. It's orange fire, so it should be fiery. If I can get it into the spots where I want it with this little brush. This might be one of those things where I need to let it dry and then come back with the dark black red and paint around it. It's also one of those things where what almost always happens is that one eye comes out really well and the other doesn't. Okay, it's a little larger than the model thinks it should be, but I think the color. This one came out better. It's a little, kind of rounded like that. This one, what it looks like needs to be done. Just a little bit of the dark red, tiny bit on the bottom there, to give it kind of a rounded look. More like this. This one's like okay on the top, but it needs to be sort of concave, made a little concave. But that needs to dry before I do that, otherwise the colors will mix. So the face, except for the snaggletooth thing, because that's just how it was printed. I can't do anything with that without breaking it off. There's just no way I can file that or sand that. So I've got these frills around the face. Those need to be highlighted. I'm going to try the same technique as I'm using for the stripes, is to highlight those in the diluted red. And then these horns will probably be, I don't want to use lighter colors. I'm going to use a wash on that, and the nose, and make those be dark as opposed to light. The horns and the beak. The purple tongue came out okay. The orange is a good eye color. I just need to make the left eye a little bit more crescent shaped than rounded. Excuse me. That needs to dry. Had been touching up like the purple and, using this red touch up, but the paint on the eye is kind of thick, and if I tried to touch that up, it would just run. So I'm going to let this dry before I put a little bit of the dark red there. Right, so what's going to happen now is I detect more little spots. I'm going to let that eyeball rest. And I'm going to touch that up when I get back. That'll be like the first thing I do if I remember to do that. And then I am going to create a scarlet red wash by thinning it out. And I'm going to use this brush, which is a nice, soft, sort of wide bristled brush, to give sort of fairly broad, but I'm hoping indistinct, just barely colored stripes. So you could sort of see that there's some stripes there, but you're not really sure. It depends on how the light hits it, kind of thing. If that works, it'll look stripy and demonic-y, and if it doesn't, then I will be repainting the body this dark color and then trying something else. Well, I'm going to take an early break because once I get started on that, I just want to keep going. And it's going to take more than the 25 minutes I have before regular break time. So I'm going to take the break now, and I'll be back a little bit after noon, sometime between 12 and 12:15 probably. And at that point, we'll make an effort, I'll fix the eye, and then make an effort to do striping and frill highlighting. And if all that works, that'll be terrific. And then I'll just get some darker wash to, make these horns look, and nose look a little bit lively. And after the striping dries, I'm going to just take gray wash. Again, not trying to make it darker, but just trying to catch some of the texture of the body. See how that goes. Put it back on here so it doesn't break or anything during break. Don't need a break. Looking at this, I might change my mind. Just thinking the big eyeball. What do you think? I think that bigger eyeball is better than this. I'm going to try. Okay, I shouldn't do this. This is one of those, you should know better. I always do this kind of thing, and then it doesn't work, and then it's a mess. But this is more demonic in terms of shape. Kind of that crescent look. this is more threatening, I think. I'm going to try to make this eyeball a little bigger. There. No, it's too much. Yeah, that's pretty symmetric. It's better. Okay, bigger. And if you're gonna have an orange fiery eyeball, might as well be really obvious. Perfect match, but it's closer. Okay, I get to take these off. My head goes back to normal size. Put my regular glasses on so I can see a little bit further away. Take a break. Look up the name of Fred Flintstone's dog if I remember to do that. And then come back and attempt to make translucent stripes. Okay. I might use this one just to get them a little smaller. If you start with a small stripe, you can make it wider. If you start with a wide stripe, you just got a wide stripe. So I might end up using that brush. Don't know if it'll work. We will all find out together after break. You all in a... What? It's weird. A pen stuck to my glasses. Yeah, I'll see you probably I'm going to guess between 10 and quarter after noon Eastern Daylight Time, when I will come back and experiment with doing translucent stripes. Well, as usual, the break always takes longer than I predicted. Anybody who's watched Relaxing Painting with Dyson Dungeons, especially the live stream, will know by now that, if I say I'll be back at a certain time, you can pretty much just add 10 minutes to it, because I keep discovering that not relaxing painting is more relaxing than relaxing painting with Dyson Dungeons. So like sitting in a comfy chair with back support as opposed to sitting on a stool without padding. I shouldn't say that it's got like a quarter of an inch of padding on it. So anyway, break did eventually end. And here I am doing Relaxing Painting with Dyson Dungeons. And let's see, during break, I did look something up. I looked up the name of the Flintstones dog, the Dogosaurus, because it wasn't really a dog, it was a dinosaur, a Dogosaurus, and its name was Dino, spelled D-I-N-O, which is dino. But they pronounce it Dino. And that was it. And then I also looked up, because I was, looking things up. So, because they did have a cat. And in the you never saw it really in the show, but in the closing credits, Fred puts the cat out. And then the cat runs back, now turning that puddle of scarlet red, hopefully, we'll see, into scarlet red wash. So that thinner is supposed to thin it. It's definitely thinner. It's thin enough yet. Pretty red. I'm going to put some more in. Got a little bit of thinner here. Why not? Can't be too thin. That's what they say. Can't be too rich or too thin. Well, I think that's not true. I think you can definitely be too thin. That can happen, and it's unfortunate, but it does. Can you be too rich? You can be way richer than you should be, way richer than you need to be, way richer than it makes any sense to be, but okay. So now this is very much thinned out scarlet red paint, and the intent here on knots, like tying knots, that's a skill everyone should have, is to be able to tie really important knots. I learned that way back as a Boy Scout. We had to learn how to tie maybe about 8 or 9 different kinds of knots. And those included lashes. There is an entire science about it. And I imagine, it's not science. Anyway, those included lashes, which I used for attaching poles to each other so that you can make rafts. And what else could you make? You could build like tripods and actually build structures. Okay, I'm going to start on the leg here. Okay. This might work. If it dries, the intent is for these to be really subtle. Like you can sort of see that they're there. It's too subtle. Might be working. There were knots that you used to, like, lash a boat to a pier. You could tie around your waist to actually, be kind of working. I talked about using a gray wash. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing. I get out this larger brush, and I'm just going to use it as a wash. leave the outside, the top, and leave the bottom darker. It's a little counterintuitive in that usually bottoms are lighter than the tops, but in this case I'm going to use this as a wash along the top and leave it darker underneath. These frills, though, back to purple, and I'm going, oh my, that wasn't an intended thing. There's so much thinner in this that in this particular spot it actually dissolved the paint underneath. I'll have to come back to that and see what happened. So this sort of worked, but not quite like I was expecting. So I'll just give up on that at the moment, but I'm going to get one of these two purples. I've got the color chart here. There isn't very much of it, but I think this will work. I use this pearlescent paint as a highlight on the frill and on these little bits. Okay, that just didn't work at all here. Have to fix that whole side. We'll see how that goes. I'll see what I can do. But yeah, it's too bad. It was working kind of okay, and then stopped working, or it just messed up. But I think I'll re-base coat it and then touch it real lightly with the wash, and I think it'll be okay. What I was saying was, as a Boy Scout, we learned how to tie knots. There was this thing called a bowline, which if you drop a rope down to somebody, because you have to haul them up like they fell down a cliff, or you need to haul them up a tree because a wild moose is attacking or something. There was a way you could tie it around their waist, so that it, could go around their under their arms and stuff, and they could hold on to the rope, and you could haul them up. So that was a helpful thing. And of course, there was square knots, and there was this thing called a sheet bend, not sheep, sheet with a T. That was used to attach two different sized ropes to each other, which is kind of a tricky thing, because if they're different sizes, they don't want to, the knots don't really want to work. Okay, this is dry enough. I'm just going to see if I can fix this quickly. This is the spot where the thinner in the wash that I created was thinner enough that it melted the base coat paint, which was not something that was really good. Redo that. And I'll see how it looks. I might just touch it, a little bit with the wash again, which I guess I thinned too much. It didn't work the way I wanted. Anyway, I'm using this pearlescent paint here, and I'm going to use it. It tends to be semi-transparent, and I want to just sort of almost dry brush it into the frill. Yeah, so this brush lost its coherence. All the bristles are all over the place, which is okay for the purpose. But usually it's just really annoying. The brush kind of falls apart in this case. It's kind of okay. These little frills on the top. And a little more challenging. Oh yeah, so I looked up the name of the Flintstones dog because for some reason I couldn't remember it. And of course it was Dino, spelled D-I-N-O, which should be Dino, but it was pronounced Dino because I guess they didn't want to just say Dino because that would be, They had this cat, and at the closing credits, Fred put the cat out on the stoop, and the cat ran back in and shoved the doors shut and locked. Both Fred and, as it turns out, Dino both were locked out. And then the show ends with Fred pounding on the door, yelling, "Wilma, Wilma." To get her attention so that he could get back in. I don't know why people thought that cats needed to be put out at night instead of just kept indoors. That was actually a thing for a while. But the cat, it turns out, apparently had a name. I didn't know this, but it showed up in maybe their shorts or something later. Little Puss, which is a terrible name. And appears to be the official name of the Flintstones cat. Yeah, I don't know. I think that looks okay. It's kind of shiny. Maybe, maybe demon dragony kinds of things should have something shiny like that. To see if I can just touch these ridges on the tail and do the same thing. Really kind of. If it be too much, I'll just touch it back up with the dark red. To look like a firefly or something. I just want to see if I can catch the tops of these sort of spiny kind of things on the back tail. You know, where it spreads out, I'll just catch these little protuberances to kind of give them so I'll tone that down by yeah, I don't know. I kind of like the glowy stuff around the face. Let's see if anybody else does, or whether it has to be toned down some. But there's, I need to do some touching up with the dark red. I'll let that dry for a bit, and then I'll get the bitty brush out and do that. I wanted to do something with the horns. Do that later. I'm going to get the tiny brush out and do some black red touching up. There's some spots that just don't look right. Iophalla, you want to post break flip? Yeah. Let me do that before I do this. I'll give this paint a little bit longer to dry. Away. No, I guess I'll flip this toothpick. I don't want to flip the sword blade, I'll lose it. And you can tell one side from the other because they look essentially the same. There's 1, 2, 3. But thanks for joining in. Where was I? Yes, I was stirring up some black red paint to do some tiny little bits of touching up in this. Touching up areas where I put that pearlescent paint, where there's just a little too much of it. I'll be doing that. And for some reason down on this side, it got way too low. On the eyeball. It didn't hold itself to the frill. For the beak here, I'm thinking the beak is going to be, I'm going to just make it darker with some wash, but the horns might need to be And in the back here, I want this to be pretty subtle. And in some places, there's just too much of it, and it got into the tail instead of just the tops of the ridges that are there. And to kind of make it smaller, where the purple got out of control. There's just way too much of it. I just wanted it to give just a hint of color. And be a little bit non-uniform. Okay, after I kind of reduce the pearlescent stripedness in the back here, take on the horns on its head and see what I can do with those. It's too bad the stripe thing didn't turn out. I was kind of hoping that I could make it look stripey, but it just didn't work. And I'm just not going to keep messing with it. It's one of those things where if I keep messing with it, it'll not look as good as it should. And I will just, admit to everybody once again that I am not the artist that Nicole is. Replace Zoria and Sewell, a changeling druid, is a real artist and would have made this look like really cool, like this imp, just really cool shading and stuff. I'll just have to live with this the way it is, which is adequately mediocre. Yeah, okay, so there's that. I'm going to take the tiniest bit of dark gray wash, if I can find it. Probably just like right off the tip of this, the bottle. I'm not even going to squirt it out. I just want the itziest bit of it to try to make the tip of the nose just a little darker. Nose, I'm trying to highlight a little bit. And just make it look a little more threatening. And then the tips of the horns, I'm going to make those, I'm going to just do those in red. Not this really kind of orangey red, but just red. So you can see them. Who wants more flips? Yeah. So if I do this without making a mess, I'll do some more flips. It's much more fun doing flips than it is working on this. After I get the horns tipped, just the tips in red, I'm going to glue on the... It's interesting. Sword blade, because it does have a sword. And I went through all the trouble of turning a toothpick into a more or less sword-looking thing. And once that sets for just a bit, then I will paint it. Here, that's way more purpley than it needs to be. Kind of subtle, but I think has the going for, which is to have these be kind of reddish on top. Just push this off a second, and I need to fix that other bit where the pearlescent paint just got on a part of the horn that I don't want it. Right. That. Okay, so I'm going to put this back on the stand so it sits still for a bit. The contact cement works pretty quickly. It stays a little flexible, but it gives me an opportunity to get the blade kind of like lined up in horizontal and vertical directions. There, like that. And the contact cement will grip it real quickly, and then pretty much what I need to do is just make sure it's straight. Stuff works by get it on one surface, and then you let it dry, which happens very quickly, and then put it on the other surface, and it's called contact cement. How many times have I said this? Every time I've used it. When the two cemented surfaces touch each other, the contact cement sticks to itself very strongly. Nice. A good stand, really helpful stand. And then I what I'll probably do is I'm going to paint the stand. Yeah, it's only going on till 1, so I've got some time. There's not enough time to start anything else. Well, I could start it. I wouldn't be able to finish anything else, so it isn't really a useful thing. This is very slightly curved. So I want the curve to be so they stick when they touch each other, which is a good thing because that's what I want. Pretty decent holding power. I'm just trying to get the sword. Well, that's not good. It should stick to there, the place where it's supposed to stick. There. In the sword spot. And there's a little blob of contact cement there that is way blobbier than I would like. There, no, it's less blobby. Trying to rotate this so it looks like it's in line with the rest of with the hilt, and that it's sort of straight from the top. That looks okay. Okay, so now I need to not mess with it. But I want to paint the stand because, that'll be part of finishing it. And I want this to set for a little bit before I try to paint it because it is going to be flexible, and even if I use a very soft brush, it will move it around. So I'm going to take this, I guess, and those are too fragile. Wonder if there's just some way to prop it up, maybe? I'm just gonna set it aside here and lay it on its back, I guess. That's what I'm doing, is laying it on its back. And hopefully the sword will stay in place. There. That's the safest thing. So this thing, to try to make it look like fiery. Okay, so what I'm thinking of doing is painting this maybe dark gray or even black, and then doing like a flamey thing. Starts out maybe with like orange and then turns red, going on up to the demon. That's not flamey. Demons are more like purpley and red. So maybe I'll start with like the scarlet red and then shade it with a light purple and then the really dark purple. It won't look terrific or anything, but it'll be, not just gray. Yeah, so let's start with I'll just start with a bigger brush. And I'm going to do some of the shading while the paint is even not yet quite dry. I think that's okay. Let's maybe it'll shade a little bit. Oh yeah. Who wants more flipping? So, flip it up here. Good. I haven't done that. I hadn't done that almost the entire stream. that being knocking stuff over, because it was like not cleared up. Keep your work surface clean. That's something you should do that I haven't been doing. Like, why did I put the purple paints there where they're going to be in the way? I can put them over here where they're slightly less in the way. Do you live for you knocking stuff over, or do you live for watching me knock stuff over? So I was talking about pets, and of course, the Flintstones dog was named Dino. Yeah, thank you. Dino instead of Dino, because it was a Dogosaurus. It was very cute, purple, kind of spotted thing. Start on a paint purple up into starting way back here. So if this isn't perfect, that's fine. And they had a cat. We know they had a cat because in the closing credits, the cat unfortunately had very little opportunity to appear during the show. I guess, producers must have been Dogosaurus people, not cat people. And I found out from the internet, which is always right. I think it was a wiki page, or maybe it was a Flintstone fan site. Really, there is a Flintstone fan site. Sorry, I don't mean to disparage that. I'm just really surprised. It must, whether it's people my age for nostalgia, whether it's younger people who just kind of, like the weirdness of something that was done in the 60s. For whatever reason, there was a Flintstones fan site, and it gave the name of the cat, which I didn't know that it ever had. And it's called Little Puss, which is not a very clever name, I don't think, but it apparently was a reference to a Tom and Jerry cartoon. Tom and Jerry being mice who probably were chased by a cat named Little Puss. Anyway, that, according to this fan site, that's the name of the cat. And the cat was famous primarily for locking Fred and Dino out of the house when they were trying to put it out at night, because that was a thing to do with cats back then, was they're supposed to be out at night, because why not? And yeah, so they put the cat out, and the cat runs in and shuts the door, and then Fred yells for pounding on the door, and that's how the Flintstones ended. They didn't have a closing theme. Some shows, not these cartoon shows, but some shows had both a theme song and an ending theme song, like the Beverly Hillbillies famously did. Everybody knows the Beverly Hillbillies theme song, right? Because there once was a man whose name was Jed, a poor mountaineer who barely kept his family fed, extended family. He was shooting at some food. I guess that, that's a good use of firearms, isn't it, if you have to feed your family? Didn't say what kind of food it was, just shooting at it. I don't think they were vegan, but I mean, you can't imagine potentially that, he's shooting at some wild asparagus or something. Like Yul Gibbons' book, Stalking the Wild Asparagus, because you did that. You had to track it down and stalk it, catch up with it, and catch it while it wasn't looking. And that's how you got your wild asparagus. Wanted to use the darker one first. Well, anyway, he was shooting at some food, and then up around came bubbling crude. As the aside tells us what that is, because he didn't know what bubbling crude was. And then they gave it the nicknames of Black Gold and Texas Tea, which I guess were actual nicknames for oil then. And the first thing, was a millionaire, and they move away, and they go to Beverly Hills, swimming pools, movie stars, but mainly just a rapacious banker who wanted Jed's money. And but at the end there was kind of a reprise. Thanked us for kindly dropping in and invited us back next week to that locality for a heaping helping of hospitality, being hillbilly, of course, hillbilly that is. Is that a spell? Take your shoes off. Back next week to that locality in Beverly Hills. Another heaping helping of their hospitality. That was an example of not only a theme song, but a reprise at the end. Did others do that? I don't know. There are other famous theme songs of shows that everybody knows, like Gilligan's Island, right? You should know that. Everybody should know that one. I think they had a reprise at the end to give an opportunity for people to look these things up. So this is looking kind of okay. Spread the purple just out a little bit here. Little rays kind of. It's, then I'm going to take just a lighter purple and do the tip of it. Black and purple is pretty demonic, I think. That's working. In fact, I'm going to probably end early. So what I'll just do now, I let that dry just a little bit. I'll let it dry and use it as an excuse and talk about Dice and Dungeons, which is a must for every one of these streams. Those of you who know all about it can, just stop listening or listen to the music. Is the music playing? Yeah, probably is. That's good. It isn't always that way. Dice and Dungeons is a group of family and friends who have been playing Dungeons and Dragons campaign. We used to play a lot before, but the campaign we're playing now, the D&D Dice and Dungeons campaign, started over a year ago, and it is amazing. And we play different characters. I play a Furbog fighter, and Nicole plays a changeling druid, and David plays a Tabaxi bard. We have many terrific adventures together. It's an interesting group, even though I'm the fighter, so I end up being like the tank oftentimes. It's the bard and the druid who usually save the day by casting some sort of devastating spell. The druid Zoria has like a tidal wave spell that can just wash everything away, and this really nasty thorn whip thing that can do, if it hits and you don't make the saving throw, can do like 40 damage. It's really pretty amazing. I just stand there and kind of wave a sword around and sometimes hit stuff. I think think what I do is I attract attention, hopefully away from the others, more than anything else. Although, sometimes I can, do something to the mobs that are attacking. But yes, so we play frequently, and it streams with a live chat 3 Sundays a month at 2. And you should catch that on Twitch. And if you can't catch it on Twitch, you can always watch previous episodes on YouTube or listen to them as a podcast. And I have to say, they're this really interesting mix of things, sometimes with just very, they're kind of fun and funny. Sometimes we do a lot of shopping. It's important to do shopping. Magic shops, especially if we have an opportunity to get one, are always a lot of fun, because everything we want is overpriced, and sometimes we buy some really cool items, but mostly we just root through the discount bin. Every store, including magic shops, have to have a discount bin, right? So we'll do that. Food plays an important part in our campaigns. So it's not at all unusual for us to buy and consume foods or go to the buffet at the Company of Blades house, because we're members of the mercenary group Company of Blades. So as members of the group, we get to eat at the buffet, no extra charge. And, some buffets are better than others, depending on mostly the size of the city and the resources that are available in the place where we're at. Recently, we've been in a capital city, and so the buffets actually, I have to say, have been pretty decent. And if you can join us, you can find out about really cool things like, I'm just going to put a couple little highlights here. Let's see, why not? You can find out about food tubes. And I won't say any more. You need to catch the episodes in which food tubes occur to find out what they are and why. They show up in some of the buffets, some of the better ones. Okay, I think that looks... Well, it's not boring. Does that look demonic? Or does it just look purple? I guess. It looks more demonic than if I just painted it gray or something. Not too bad. But yeah, you absolutely must catch our D&D campaign, either with live chat on Sundays at 2 Eastern Daylight Time, at least for a couple more weeks until it becomes Eastern Standard Time. I think we're going back to Standard Time. There was an effort to keep Daylight Time going forever, but I don't know if that passed or not. So guess we'll find out around the end of October, when it would ordinarily shift over just after Halloween, or whether if it shifts over or stays. Kind of personally, I would like it to stay, because I'd rather have more daylight in the evening than in the morning, because I don't like to wake up early anyway. That's just a personal thing. Yeah, I'm looking for a metallic for the sword here. Thinking I want to put a wash on it, so I'm going to use dark aluminium, which is a little lighter than the steel. Reaching over, there is dark. You can see on the label that this was made in Europe, because it's aluminium, not aluminum. I think we're the only people who say that. Everybody else is aluminum. I'm not sure why, but it is. That's what it is. This is dark aluminum, and this is going to be the sword blade color. And then I'm going to take a little bit of that dark gray wash that I used on the nose or the horn of this thing, and just, make the blade look a little bit less than uniform in color. It's pretty funny. This looks like, that if you've ever seen Nightmare Before Christmas, this looks kind of like the mayor's hat. Now that I'm looking at the shape and the color. It's not what it is, but it just struck that that's kind of what it's looking like. So as usual, I started wandering off on things during this monologue because nobody's talking in chat. So I have to fill the time. And if I can fill the time, then you don't have to listen to the wonderful music. But this stream started because we made ever more elaborate dungeons and minifigs and scatter stuff like crates and barrels and bars, like tavern bars, but also bars like bars that bar a gate. Yes, we made both kinds of bars, doors and walls, sewers, all sorts of things, and painted those for use on the stream, and DM decided to be, for some reason, a cool thing to stream the painting. So that's how Relaxing Painting started. This started as streaming the painting of dungeon tiles. When those come up, there's usually lots of them, dozens and dozens. But also the minifigs of characters and monsters that we meet in the show. And this might be one. I mean, we might run into this at some time and have to fight it. Or maybe it will be a friend. We can't always assume that just because it's a demon, that it will be a foe. Anyway, that's how this got started, as a spin-off of the D&D campaign. You can see as I'm painting this that the context in that paint is still flexible because it's kind of moving around. The surface looked a lot smoother without paint than it does with paint. I think that's why the wash will be really important on this, so that the irregularities look like they're meant to be there and are not just because it's toothpick instead of plastic. We print all of these ourselves nowadays. We have the dungeon tiles are printed on those ELA printers behind me. And I think as I let this dry before I put the wash on it, I'll show you the sample. I do this like every third stream or so. And show the sample of the dungeon tiles that we are producing because they're really cool. And I don't know, maybe someday we might even make them available to people who are Dice and Dungeons fans. Okay, yeah, well, the blade looks a little, I guess those are bubbles. Okay. Up because of the rough texture of the wood underneath. Yeah, I'll let that dry, and then I'll put a wash on that and the hilt. I want to show you our wonderful tiles. These are samples. They're not the real thing. But, I mean, they are real. These are real. They're not imaginary. You won't be imagining something. You won't be seeing something that isn't there. But they're not the ones that we use because they're not really finished. Okay. These are printed in PLA as one piece, the wall and the floor. These are rough stone. We have cut stone and wood, and I keep thinking I really should bring out some samples of the wooden ones because they're beautiful once they're painted. But then I don't remember until I get to this point and see I really should do that. Someday I might just get up when I think of it and grab some. I'll be off camera and you'll get to just watch nothing happening and listen to the music while I get those. But these are single piece, so they're extremely sturdy. This is all hand painted. All of our dungeon tiles that we use on the stream are hand painted. And under this little thing here, that's the only separate piece, is the little base, are 8 ball magnets, and they rotate in the little pockets underneath, and so they hold each other. And we practiced with different ways of attaching these. You can put little clips in these things and they can clip together, and that holds them pretty well, but it's hard to take them apart and rearrange them. So we've used magnets, which allow us to do that, or that, or that. I don't know why you would want to do that. I mean, that could be part of a very complicated dungeon. You know, you came through, and I mean, if you imagined more of these, you could have a corridor that went through this with weird walls getting in the way and stuff. But this allows, once you've got enough pieces, for the quick assembly, disassembly, and rearrangement of a dungeon in countless ways. And what's nice about it is you don't need any special base. Okay, you don't have to have a metal base because they stick to each other and not to the base. And yeah, you can do things like that. And then if you want, you could put, this is unpainted, you could put a pile of skulls there just to make it look like, eerie. Ooh. We have some really cool things, like there's some tiles with a wall that rotates, and that's so that you can put a trap on it, and the wall will either rotate or not, so that you can't tell if you're using this that there is a trap. But once the trap is triggered, you can either change the wall or rotate it, and either a flame or a gas cloud will come out. And if you've got a corridor, so like it's like that, okay, yeah, it could be nasty. That's why you should always check for traps all the time. We don't. In our D&D campaign, I don't think that we've done detect traps more than maybe 3 times in over 90 sessions. Fortunately, the DM doesn't think that traps are all that interesting anyway. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. Now we're going to have traps, right? Just to do it. But yeah. But I wanted to show these to you. The ones that we actually use, we put a dark gray wash on them, so they look a lot more interesting than this. But these are the samples that I've been showing on the stream, because these are the ones that are just sitting up over there, where I can reach over stuff and knock it over. So I'll put them away. Take this off the sticky tack, because pretty soon, very soon now, this, what's called a Pazuzu, I don't know why, that's what I've been told, that this is a Pazuzu. This Pazuzu is going to be done, and I'm going to put it on the stand here, and that will be that. And then I'm not going to do any more, because there isn't going to be enough time left for me to really make too terribly much progress on these little imp guys, like the one that Nicole did. There's, I think, 5 or 6 more of them, which means that at some point, probably in the future, our campaign group, Dice and Dungeons, our campaign group, is a member of the Company of Blades, and our group name is Midnight Brunch. There is a reason why. mainly because we eat all the time, and at the company house, the buffet is open 24 hours, and sometimes, we come off an adventure, or we just get up in the middle of the night because we're hungry or whatever, and as is our want, because we're pretty food focused, as is our want, we will eat something. And so, yeah, we became famous for being the midnight brunch. We're famous. People ask for us by name. Very important. Oh, Nikki did a really amazing job on this. Yeah. Another reason I didn't start painting these is that mine would look really inadequate in comparison. Yeah, so I need to get out I'm getting to the end here. Get out the dark gray wash, and I want to wash the sword blade so it doesn't look just so, blah, and the hilt so it isn't quite as bright. I'm going to do that real lightly. I don't want it real extremely dark, but I want it to look, more demonic, more used. And then I think what I'll do is, I need to let you know that there will not be a relaxing painting stream next week. I'm taking a week off from this because sometimes you just need to have some time off, and that's what this will be. It'll be that spot. I don't like that spot there. Sorry, there's a spot. It's bothering me. So I'm going to despot it, unspot it. Doesn't bother anybody else. Probably nobody else even sees it, but it's just there. Like, needs to be unspotted. And there was another one kind of here. It's not quite as in need of unspotting as the other one, but it is. Okay, it's so much better. And it used up like 30 or 40 seconds of stream time, which was equally, if not more important. Yeah, so just to let you know that there won't be any streams next week because we're taking a week off from streaming. Yes, I guess I should just say I'm taking a week off from streaming. So there'll be no imps being painted. Really. You couldn't see that, but as I squeezed out a drop of it in here because I need like that much, like what's on the brush. Okay. But as I put the cap of the bottle back on, the bubble burst out. So it's not like it's not a huge waste of gray wash, but nonetheless. Just what I was hoping to accomplish, and maybe I did, was just to make it look more used, less new and shiny. And on the hilt, you can see that there's some texture. there, and the wash kind of brings that out on the other side more than this side for some reason. I guess that's better. It's kind of tempting, still kind of tempting to get just a regular gray wash, which would not change the color very much, and hit it on the wings, you know, so that the feathering showed better. But I just know better, having learned the hard way over and over and over again. If it looks okay, or as I like to say, the aim of the stream of what I do is adequate. If it looks adequate, just don't mess with it, because the next thing you do will make it look inadequate. So this is now to the point where it just needs to be not messed with. Okay? And so I'm going to stop messing with it. And I am going to put it on its stand. Hopefully it will hold it in a good posture angle. There we go. And there is a Pazuzu. I am told that is what this is. That it actually has a name as a kind of creature, Pazuzu. And it's like a flying demon bird thing. What is that? And then you look and you see, okay, right there, right where you're going to see it if you get down below, is a spot that's not painted. And the color I'm going to use to touch that up I'm going to use this purple. It just needs to be darker, and it's really tiny. The wrong color. I need to use the scarlet red. It'll show less. Really, it's just, I was hoping that it was just a spot of dirt. But this is one of those things, like, I have not looked at it in this angle since forever. And now that I did, I can see there's a spot here that is kind of not painted. There. Now it'll be unnoticeable, whereas otherwise it would look, unfortunately, it would look like an unpainted spot, which is what it was. Yeah, I should stop looking at this, because then I'll find other things that are not as good as they should be. So there is a Pazuzu. Whatever a Pazuzu is, this is it. And I am going to declare it adequately finished. It is now adequate. Except there's a bright spot on the tip of this sword that does not stop being bright. There. Yeah, well, no, it's adequately. Just leave it alone. Leave it alone, leave it alone, leave it alone. I keep saying that because I just need to leave it alone and celebrate the completion of an adequately painted Pazuzu flying demon creature. Brought to you by Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. And please consider, would very much appreciate it if you would consider joining us on our D&D stream Sundays at 3 Sundays a month. Check social media to find out the exact schedule. or catch us. It's way easier, you know. You can do it at your own leisure. You can do it, you know, while you're at work instead of doing other things. You could check us out on YouTube or as a podcast. That's always a cool thing to do too. And I'm not leaving it alone. Not leaving it alone. This is a really bright spot right there. That's very distracting. And it doesn't become unbright. Not sure. No, it's just going to stay that way. Didn't follow my own advice. Yes, so thanks for watching this stream of Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. Very much appreciate it. If you like what you see and hear, or at least what you see, or at least, you know, you find it adequate, an adequate use of your time, consider being a follower. Tell all your fans and friends and relatives and enemies and acquaintances about it so that they can become followers, or you can become a sponsor. Or if you really want to join in on the Dice and Dungeons family, go to patreon.com/diceanddungeons, patreon.com/diceanddungeons, and become a patron. And if you become a patron, you get access to really cool things like DM notes from previous episodes of our campaign, and access to our warm-up improv sessions where we improvise, and they go anywhere from like 30 seconds to maybe 8 minutes of us being improvisational. They're pretty, actually, sometimes they're really pretty funny. And they're certainly worth your while. So patreon.com/diceanddungeons. Everybody become a follower and or a sponsor. And I will be painting, or Nicole, depending on who's doing what when. We might have Nicole painting some things in the week after next. Again, maybe imps, maybe it's weird. It's just a weird reflection. Maybe these, I can show you these. These are primed but not painted. These are the flames. These flames are used in flame traps. If the trap is triggered, the flame will come out. And they're painted real flamey looking. They're very not gray. And they're also used in some of our dungeon sets. There's like a wizard lair or something that has a cauldron. And these flames, these are pretty cool. The bottom of the cauldron and the bottom of the flame have magnets in them that attract. And you can say flame on, or flame up, or make a flame, or fire, or whatever you say. You can say magically kind of words, and then put that in the cauldron and it sticks, and then you've got a flaming cauldron. So Nicole might be painting those. There's also gas clouds. These turn out to be all sort of green and glooby and gassish and stuff. And then there's these imps that are not yet painted that need to be painted to be almost as nice as the ones that Nicole did. And you can see the painting of these things on Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. And on Wednesday, Submarine Wednesday, which happened by accident one time when there was nothing else to paint, I picked out some of my old model kits that I planned to do when I first retired and never got around to. And I've been working on a Renwall submarine from the 1960s. I bought 3 kits so that I have enough pieces for 1 kit, and that has in fact happened. I've had to borrow pieces from the other kits to make the one I'm working on full. Keep that on camera so you can see that I actually did something here. Yeah. And I've got a little bit of time. I'm going to show you the submarine. Okay. Just hopefully I will be able to pick it up and bring it here and not drop it. I'm going to move this up higher because the submarine is large, and you're going to want to see some of it. I wonder what I'll knock over in it. So I'm going to move this rinse water on. Right? You're going to see the paints at least are all sealed, capped, so if they go over, they're not going anywhere. This could be a mess. No, I'm moving things. Look at that. This, yeah. So when you watch Relaxing Painting with Dyson Dungeons, I will continuously remind anybody who's watching this is not a how-to show. I'm not a professional painter. I don't have terribly good technique. I can't show you those. I can just show you what I know and how I do it and talk about 1960s cartoon theme songs. And I can make messes and say, don't do this. If you decide to paint things, don't do this thing I just did. On this submarine now for, it feels like forever. I think it's been maybe 7 months. I don't know. Someone can look up on YouTube at previous Submarine Wednesdays and see how far back they go. But this is very well designed and very poorly molded. So all of the pieces have needed a lot of work to make them fit. And there's a huge amount of detail in the design though. And when I first built this kit back in the 1960s, when I was like in 7th or 8th grade, I don't remember painting terribly much of it at all. And I don't think I did, like just little bits of it here or there, rather than everything. Like every surface of everything is painted now. And I definitely did not pay attention to the details, like the cabinets in the galley or the gauges and dials on the control panels. But I am now because, you know, I'm trying to make a decent model. So this is an adequately done, detailed model. It's not professionally done, but I've been working on it forever. And this is the inside of it. This is the front part where the crew mainly hangs out. Yeah. And you look at it from the side here. So you could see, you know, the staircases, the escape hatches. If you look way back there, you can see the galley. You can see the cabinets and some of the pots and pans. The lighting isn't necessarily... There we go. Yeah, it's much better. You can see the coffee pot and the pots and pans and the little detailing on the cabinets, the handles. Back there is a storeroom, and the back wall are hanging hams. Kind of weird, huh? And then up in the control room, you can see some of the detail there. And this whole section from here to here was installed this last Wednesday. I'd been working on all of the detail painting and everything and subassembly forever and ever and ever, it seems, until finally it got to the point where I had it all done and I could put it together. The forward torpedo room was done really early on, except for the detailed part in the front here, which had the pressure gauges and the torpedo tube hatches. But all of this was just sort of sitting, basically it was sitting in a box as separate pieces until fairly recently, and now it's all together. And that was a huge breakthrough getting this done. And it looks way better than the one I made when I was a kid. I mean, when I was in grade school, I definitely did not highlight the edges of the drawers and the cabinets in the galley. Okay, nor did I attempt to paint the gauges and things on the control panels. But it's there and it's working, and these things, these periscopes, go up and down. It's kind of cool. Inside these tubes, you have an escape hatch. You got the little ladders, you know. Anyway, I think it came out pretty cool. I think it looks pretty decent. And now that I'm done with all of this, this next section here is where the missile tubes go. There's 16 Polaris launching missile tubes. And I've got the parts out and I've got them primed. And a week from Wednesday, when I get back to all of this, I'll be starting to paint the decks and the detail on the bulkheads. This bulkhead back here is very detailed for some reason. I don't know why. As is this one back here. It has like tool racks and stuff, especially on the aft end of it. And then the missile tubes need to be cemented and sanded because you don't want the seams to be showing, that kind of thing. Yeah, anyway, I'll be starting to work on this. Hopefully it won't take as long as all of this did with all of that detail, but we'll see. Extinguishers isn't as red as it should be. And oh man. Yeah, here, look at that. I've got splotches of dark gray paint on the bulkhead. So when I painted the edge of this, because this is a cutaway, and this dark gray is supposed to be the color of the hull, the steel of the hull. So like this all needs to be painted that dark gray. Apparently I got paint on that and I never noticed that. So I need to touch that up with the light green. Hopefully I'll be able to paint these edges without getting too much paint on the edges as well. I don't like to keep coming back, touching it up. Every touch up is a mess. But there, this is what happens on Submarine Wednesday. And now that this was assembled, you should go into YouTube and watch the assembly of it, because this just happened this Wednesday. The assembly was pretty exciting, really. It didn't. I had to do it maybe 3 times before it all fit together. I had to take put it together and take it apart a couple times. That little chair there by the periscope, that ended up taking like almost as much time as assembling all the rest of this into the hull, because it absolutely refused to stay in place. Yep, so there's a submarine thing. I got some painting of the edges of the hull to do. I might do those when I get back a week from Wednesday. I'll do the touching up here on the bulkhead that I didn't notice there was a problem before, but now I do. And then I'll start working on, like I said, the decks and the bulkheads and the missile tubes for this whole section. And then after that's done, this part back here is really pretty boring. It's a whole bunch of this color beige machinery with pipes and things and some little dials and stuff. But here, this section here is the reactor room, and they tried to do a cutaway of the reactor, and that's supposed to look like it's radioactively glowing hot. I'll probably play around with that to see if I can get it to look, I don't know, reactory. But first, the missile area. One of the well, you'll see it if you look at YouTube, or if you watch Submarine Wednesdays in the future. There's one tube that actually is spring-loaded that shoots a missile up, supposedly. I doubt if that works. But in the meantime, that's what's been happening on Submarine Wednesday, is the construction of the first third of the submarine that just has a whole lot of stuff in it. I'm going to put this away, hopefully very carefully, without dropping it or breaking it, and I'll be back in a second. Yep, that was me knocking into something. So, thank you for joining in with Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. Say goodbye to the Pazuzu, the flying demon-like thing that we may or may not ever encounter in our D&D campaign. Join us the week after next. Taking a week off, vacation from streaming. be back a week from Monday, I hope. I plan, anyway, where either I or Nicole will be painting some minifigs, and then a week from Wednesday, week and a half from now, beginning serious work on the Mistletoes and Submarine Wednesday. Thanks for being a follower. Thanks for being a sponsor. Thanks for considering going to patreon.com/DiceDungeons and becoming a patron. That would be much appreciated. Catch our D&D campaign. And stay safe. Take care. See you soon.